Hello, sports fan, and welcome to the Packs for Breakfast All Star comparison of 1991 Fleer Ultra team, the All Star team that we put together, and the 2021 Panini cards. Which I'm sorry, I had never heard of Panini making cards. I had never heard of the Panini sets. They're nice looking cards, admittedly. We opened up a bunch of them on Sunday morning, which we do every morning. We open up a bunch of packs of cards to come up with our all-star teams at 6 a.m. Mountain Time, 8 a.m. Eastern. And the thing about the Panini cards is they focus more on the stars. There's a lot of cards in there that are more focused on the name players, the skill positions. They don't really have a lot of defensive players unless they're big stars, or they don't have offensive linemen, kickers, anything like that. So as a football fan, I respect what all those players do. And so I like to have their cards. I like to be able to create as full of a roster as I could of everybody. But they still are nice looking cards. But we're focusing today on the running backs. So the running backs from our 1991 team, easily two of the greatest running backs to ever play the game. Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith. You have from Barry Sanders, he only played 10 years, but the amount of yardage that he put up in just 10 years, he averaged basically 1,500 yards a season. He had 99 touchdowns in his career. He did win the MVP in 1997, which is tough to do for running backs, but because mainly seems to be the quarterbacks get that award. He had a season where he rushed for 2,000 in 1997. He had even 2,921 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. Barry's career was cut short because he retired. He didn't want to play for the Lions anymore. That's a guy that was never going to get a Super Bowl in Detroit. Not at that time. It would be great if a guy like Barry Sanders could be playing on these Detroit Lions teams of 2024. But that, unfortunately, is not in the cards for him. When he retired, his final season, it's like he had 1,491 yards and was still averaging 4.3 yards per carry. That was his 10th season. He easily could have put up 20,000 yards in his career. He would have probably had another, I'd say probably 2 or 3 seasons easily where he could still do, around 1,400 or 1,500 yards. So that would have put him with another 3,000 to 4,500 yards, which would have put him almost at the 20,000 just in the next 3 seasons. I think he'd be the all-time leading rusher without question. So when you compare 2021 to 1991, of course, the two guys from 2021, their careers aren't over. They're getting closer for Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. Even though he hasn't been playing that long, his injuries could take him away from us sooner than later. Barry Sanders never won a Super Bowl. Emmitt Smith won 3 Super Bowls. It's like he has 3 Super Bowls. He was the Super Bowl MVP in one of them. He is the all-time leading rusher with 18,355 yards and 164 touchdowns. He also had 3,224 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns through the air. He won the MVP in 1993. So both those running backs had won MVP trophies, just to show you how good those two were. Now, Christian McCaffrey has a combined, he has about 10,800 yards combined with 6,400 almost yards rushing and about 4,500 yards receiving. He already has 81 total touchdowns and 524 catches. And remember, this is a guy who gets injured and misses a lot of time. And these are the kind of numbers he's put up in about 7 or 8 years. It's going to be too bad that he's never going to probably get to the numbers he should have, because he can't stay healthy. He takes a beating. His dad used to take a beating, but he never missed this much time. But he was a wide receiver, not a running back. But the guy that's next to him, Derrick King Henry, he has 10,909 yards as of recording this. He has 108 total touchdowns. 105 of them, I think, are on the ground and 3 are through the air. He won the Heisman Trophy in 2015. So a lot of times you see the Heisman Trophy winners don't really amount to much in the NFL. It's just usually the best player in college. That was definitely true in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Maybe less true now. It seems like Heisman Trophy winners do a little bit better now, but still, Derrick Henry, legit, just a really good player. But he's played 10 or 11 years, and he's starting to get a little banged up and dinged up, but he is so powerful. And he's having a great season for the Ravens this year. It's fun to watch. I like Derrick Henry's one of my all-time favorite running backs. And the great part about this is you have 4 different types of running backs. You got the power guy, Derrick Henry. You got Christian McCaffrey, who is the versatile running back who can catch really well out of the backfield. You can even line him up outside every once in a while. Barry Sanders, probably the most elusive runner I've ever seen. I watched him one time make a guy do a 360. It's a highlight. He basically turns this guy around a full 360, just juking him, out of his socks. And Emmitt Smith, what he benefited from was having one of the best offensive lines in football in the Great Wall of Dallas. But it still doesn't take away from the fact that he was an intelligent runner. He knew where to go. He was always there. He was a hard runner. He wasn't a power runner, but he was a good, solid, hard runner that made the right decisions, made good moves. But you have 4 different kinds of running backs up there. But if you're going to give me a choice, it's easy. Yesterday, the choice was easy with the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks, I'd easily take the 2 guys from 2021. Easily I'm going to take Mahomes and Brady over Elway and Marino. As much as I am a huge Elway and Marino fan, especially Elway's a Bronco, it's like I could never sit there and say that I would take those guys over Tom Brady especially. And this one, I feel like it's just as easy on the running backs. I'm definitely taking the guys from 91. Definitely taking Barry Sanders. Definitely taking Emmitt Smith. I think that we're far enough along in McCaffrey and Henry's careers that they're not going to probably eclipse. They're definitely not going to eclipse Emmitt Smith's numbers. But I don't even think that Derrick Henry is probably going to be able to catch Barry Sanders' 15,000 yards. I think he could get close if he can play another few years. But I just think that, this is a punishing runner, and he does not shy away from contact. Although I do think a lot of people that try to tackle him shy away from contact. Just like, it's like, please don't hurt me, Your Highness. So that is the comparisons of the 1991 Fleer All Star Team running backs and the 2021 Panini. I would easily go with the 91 Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, and that's All Star for now.